Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello, my friends. This is a special video. This is a different sort of scenario that we're doing today because I want to introduce you to my friend Mikey King. And I know the screen says Hannah. That's his wife. It's Michael. And we're going to talk to you today about meditation because as my friend, Michael and Hannah run King's Meditation Mentoring Academy. And I just thought it would be really cool to not only introduce you to what they do, but so have a talk to Mikey and get to know a little bit more about how it would benefit and answer some questions about meditation, because I'm a huge proponent. I'm a huge advocate for meditation. I meditate myself, and I often have people ask me where they can learn to meditate, or if I meditate, or how often I meditate, and how it gets done. And I just love meditation. So I want to start by saying, Mikey, I've known you since before you had your meditation mentoring academy. We met through a friend, Katie, who's also a mentor in the space. And the thing I love about you most is that you are exactly the same outside of like being this awesome mentor for people now as when I very first met you. And you've always embodied what you teach now, even before you did it officially. And I just think that's bizarre and magical. And I don't know how you did that, but like, that's my favorite thing about you. There's lots of things I love about you, but that's one of my favorite things.
Thank you. That means a lot. And can I just hit you back and say my favorite thing about you, amongst many, is what Henry and I always talk about, is about how friggin' funny you are.
Aw,
you make us laugh every time we hang out. We're in stitches.
Oh, that's so lovely. Now I'm going red. Okay.
And you don't even mean to be. And sometimes it's when you're not trying to be funny and you're just accidentally being a complete dork. That's when it's the funniest.
Yeah, you're laughing at me.
Yeah.
Not with me. Yeah. So good. Okay, where should we start? So we wanted to have this conversation because your meditation mentoring program this year is open, and I wanted to let people know about it. So can you say a little bit about Fire and Water, what it means? Okay, actually, I'll start off by saying I thought this would be great for people who are in my world, because not only do people ask me about meditation, the reason I meditate, why I love meditation, is because it gives me extra energy in my day. I have a past with chronic fatigue. I'm a highly sensitive person. It helps me to de-stimulate, come back to being centered. It gives me more energy. It gives me more presence. It gives me more spaciousness and calm. And I feel like that really contributes to my performance and my ability to perform, as well as great healing benefits. So this is why I want to share you with my audience.
Yes.
Can you say a little bit more about that, about Fire and Water?
Yeah. Go.
Just go.
The first thing that comes to my mind is when I hear you say you love to meditate because it gives you energy. It's really interesting because I imagine you out there. If we typically think about something that gives us energy, it means we're doing something intense or activating, like out there doing some big breathing technique, or I don't know, lifting boulders, or that's what I would typically imagine before I knew about meditation, in terms of getting energy. So it always trips me out that when we talk about meditation, to sit down and enter into a state of inner quiet and calm, it's not like I am making the energy or trying to force it to come out, but putting myself in a state where the energy reserves naturally regenerate and come from something and somewhere outside of what I would typically consider to be just me. And all of a sudden I'm full of myself in the best possible way. And like that always trips me out. Like how can I be energized by doing completely nothing? Entering into a state of supreme stillness and quietude where all of a sudden, all of the little channels that are running through my mind and nervous system actually unwind and calm down. And I'm just resting in what we could call my own nature. And of course, my own nature is connected to nature itself, which is an infinite source of energy and resourcefulness. And it seems like, and I'm sure you'll be able to attest to this as well, that that kind of energy, it's not necessarily high burst, intense energy, but it's like a steady, consistent stream of capability that can be drip fed to you throughout a day or days. And you know, it's so much more powerful than 67 coffees that'll give you an extreme high. And then, of course, you have the punishment from that kind of high waiting the next day or in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. So that's the first thing that interests me about hearing you say that, and meditation, and how amazing it is for people who are high achievers and want to leave a positive impact in the world. You know, we have to have somewhere we can go within ourselves, to be with ourselves, to have our own sacred place of connection where we are rejuvenated. And so does that answer that okay?
Yeah, I could listen to you all day. Just keep talking. That's great.
And then, and so the reason we call it fire and water is there's so many reasons. It's hard to like funnel it in, but I will say that traditionally, so you practice TM, right? Transcendental meditation. So even the origins of transcendental meditation has its roots in Vedic culture and literature. And in one of the oldest texts, the Rig Veda of the Vedic literature, it says that something like when fire and water are balanced and brought together, it creates an inner atmosphere that naturally allows the state of meditation to blossom. And we call this Agni and Soma, complementary opposites of fire and water. And what it's really about is recognizing that in life, there's just so many opposing forces, and we always have a tendency to want to lean towards one way or the other. And the sweet spot is right in the middle, when these opposites are harmonized and brought together and balanced. And in that state, the state of meditation naturally emerges. So what it's saying is, the first image that comes to mind is a frangipani tree. And for some, I think I was looking at one yesterday. Nala was playing in a frangipani tree, our 3-year-old son, yesterday. And it was full of bright green leaves and frangipani flowers. And really, in summertime, there's nothing more natural in the entire world than that tree coming into full blossom. It looks perfectly fitting for summer on the east coast of Australia, right? But it has to have the right soil, adequate sunlight, the right amount of, the conditions have to be right. And so what fire and water speaks to is, what are the inner conditions in our nervous system, our body, our mind, our lifestyle, our soul, the ideal conditions so that the blossoming of and the evolution of your consciousness is the most natural thing that can ever happen. And that's what we look to. It's really interesting, because meditation is the state that emerges as the blossoming of consciousness, but it's also the practice that gets us there. So it's a practice and a state at the same time. Because we do a bit of practice and the state comes up, we're like, whoa, I just experienced something I could call meditation, but then back to the drawing board. And over years and years, and I'm still learning this, it becomes a little more stable, a little more stable, a little more stable, and a little more of the state of meditation bleeds into our experience a little more consistently. And, you know, we're able to show up in relationship and different situations with a little more inner certainty and heartfulness and compassion and calmness as the years go by.
I could seriously just listen to you talk about this all day.
Oh, thank you.
It's incredible. And there's 2 places I want to go. The first one, well, there's a few actually. There's 3. I'll say them all and you'll probably cover all three just by talking. Okay, the first one is nervous system. So I find it when folks with high sensitivity and things like that tend to get stuck in that high parasympathetic nervous system state. And when you talk about being in more of a state of meditation after practicing meditation for quite some time, do you find that it really helps balance the nervous system and nourish the nervous system? If so, how? I'll start there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And there's it. What I love about this stuff is I don't have to make anything up. It's as old as time and very time tested. And so it's so cool to be able to rely on teachers and teachers for that have, I've had the good fortune of coming in contact with some of these practices and teachings and things like that. And through this lens of what I've learned, sensitivity is the greatest gift on the path of meditation, but it has to be understood and nurtured. Because sensitivity, there's a beautiful word called prana samvedana. And what it means is the practices will give you a refined sensitivity to the fundamental energy of life. And what does that refined sensitivity look like? It eliminates indecision because you're not stuck in your head thinking, what am I going to do? Am I going to take this path or that path, or see this person or do this or that? There's an embodied guidance that represents or is instruction from the nature of life itself as it wants to unfold and evolve. So there's a sensitivity to prana, to life energy. And I get fascinated by migratory birds that, travel across continents without a GPS. Just by some kind of intuitive inner knowing. And the people that I've learned from, and I start to experience a little bit of this myself in some ways, this intuitive impulses that arise that guide you towards beautiful unfoldings happen more and more as sensitivity is understood, embraced, and harnessed. So that's the first thing I say. Sensitivity, often it's like, you're too sensitive. It's getting in the way of me achieving my goals. But if we go, okay, I've been given this nervous system, this mind and body by nature itself, by life, for a very specific purpose to do what I'm here to do. What would it be like if I learned to understand it and work with it? So sensitivity is a beautiful thing. The best thing. It means you can sensitize yourself to be deeply empathetic with others. But in the process of learning to understand it and harness and work with it, that's why we have this beautiful practice called pranayama. And a lot of people see breath work over here and meditation over here, whereas they are, always meant to be taught together. And so even the way things get presented in the West is, here's breathwork training, breathwork. I'm seeing so many different forms of breathwork coming up. And then there's this mindfulness, space, stress reduction, or this kind of meditation over here. And they seem somewhat disintegrated. But the truth is, trying to get into a state of meditation without accessing it through the breath is just painstakingly difficult and unnecessary. And then breath work without leading into meditation is also missing a piece of the puzzle that people inevitably want to search for. So we use working with the breath as a gateway to calm down the nervous system in the mind, using the breath in a very specific way, which then opens the doorway to the possibility of being able to meditate. And so, there's really specific ways that we use the breath to de-excite the mind and the nervous system, to put us in a state of tranquility, where there's a sweet balance of calm, but also what I would say is appropriate energy. Because sometimes if we get like too calm, it can sometimes get a little bit dense, and the ability to sharply focus can be dulled. So we work with pranayama in a way where we try to create an inner environment of calm and tranquility with appropriate energy to be able to maintain sharp-mindedness and presence, to be able to ultimately create new habits of being and thinking in a kind of concentrated, energized, but tranquil manner.
This sounds so complementary to, like, how do I say it? More of a embodied, somatic, I don't know another word to describe it right now, but so much of the work that I do this is so complementary to that. If anyone who's watching who's been a client of mine or a student of mine would be so fascinated by this in terms of going deeper into that comprehension and embodiment and understanding of what we do at a strategic level inside of something like the Fierce Salon or my coaching, or in NLP when we start to talk about the quantum field and quantum physics and quantum mechanics and quantum linguistics. It feels like I wanted to ask you about the quantum field, and it might be like I don't know if it's an appropriate question or if it's like a whole conversation that you could probably talk about for a whole week. But it just feels like it's so married in terms of there's a practical, strategic way to do life and to do business and to do achievement, honoring that space of high sensitivity and honoring that trait of high sensitivity. It's a whole other thing to understand how to like feed it and nurture it, like the plant that you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, you're the living example of it, you know, and that's what I've always appreciated about your work and been so inspired. You're literally the living example of do less to get more done. And, you know, your whole thing with the more I rest, the more abundant I am, or the more restful I am, the more clear I am, the more work I get done, all those kind of things, because you're in your prime state of relaxed greatness.
Thank
and
you.
Effortlessness. Yeah, no worries. And I'll also say that there are so many crossovers, even with, like, if you think about fire and water represents just, it's like an analogy or a representation of an inner state of allowance. Another way to say that is non-resistance and spaciousness and calm. And the fire is the active choice. And so I imagine when you are guiding someone through exploring strategy or guiding someone through a process, in order to first move towards change, there has to be a deep state where there's reflectivity. Like someone can reflect upon their past or their current state of mind or their belief system or their emotions and see it for what it is and have a sense of realization and allowing it to be here. So the resistance and the stress has dropped and it's just like, whoa, I'm here with what I'm experiencing. And so that's like this water element. And the somatic piece, like the word soma, somatic comes from the word soma for rejuvenation and water, cosmic water, embodied. So that's what, you know, fire and water, like Agni Soma, that's where the word somatic comes from. Wow. And so, and then the fire piece is like, okay, inside of the pool of tranquility, I'm now kind of, even if it's still here, I'm free from its, I'm disentangled. And so now I have a sharp, discerning ability to make an active choice about how I move forward from now on. And that piece is where the fire element comes in to be like, line in the sand, no more. This is who I am. I know that in my heart, I feel it. And I've lost the resistance towards the way I was doing things. I'm no longer feeding that way of being. And now from this place of clarity, I can see a path forward. I can see it. And here's my strategy for moving forward and embodying and creating this new way of being. And so even in, you know, that kind of process oriented work and NLP and the same principles apply. It's just putting a different word to exactly the same thing.
And some more nuance and some more comprehension, right? Like I've been a student of meditation since 2007. I don't know how many years that is, but there's a whole other level of comprehension learning about it from a perspective of becoming a teacher of it. You know, they say the greatest way to learn is to teach.
Yeah.
So there's things that, I mean, I'm comprehending everything you say. And as you say, I can live as an example of it, but do I know what I'm doing all the time? No, because I've just been in practice of practicing meditation. Anyway, I said that because Fire and Water is a teacher training, right? A meditation teacher training. You mentor people to become meditation teachers, and you mentor them to start meditation businesses and to teach other people. But I know for me, I am somebody who would learn how to teach something just to learn it for myself, such as yoga training.
Yeah.
When I learned NLP, I went all the way to teacher training. I had no intention of ever teaching it myself, but I wanted to know as much as I possibly could about the topic from the perspective of, why am I learning this? Like, why is it this way? What's important about this particular aspect or this detail of it? And so I say that because I know a lot of the people that I work with, they're like me. It's like, I don't have to become a teacher, but I can learn at that level for my own practice and the deepening of my practice. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, fully. It's so interesting that we do get a lot of people who are a little bit like you with the NLP, who are like, I don't even necessarily want to teach, but then like they finish and they're like, I just have to share this with someone.
That's so cool.
It's such a natural consequence of feeling really good and recognizing I took these steps to make me feel really good, and you could benefit from this too. And you know, we can't help but fill our mind with all of the people we know, especially like our family members that are really annoying. They're like, they need this.
Sometimes we can't help them.
Yeah. My cousin, she really needs this. But when we first started the teacher trainings, we were kind of adamant that we only wanted to work with people that really wanted to teach, because we wanted to hone in on the teaching aspect. But as the years have passed, I just realized that so many people can benefit from it, regardless if they specifically want to teach or not. And so if someone was a coach, for example, they might not be speaking about the Vedic origins of meditation, but their own practice and what they learn would play into the way they interact and be with their clients. A sense of increased presence and compassion that naturally awakens with consistent practice, and all of these things that change the way we even be with people. And the easefulness we embody that makes people feel at home in their own skin, that then enables them to let go and share things they might have otherwise not shared with anyone else. And that's across the board with, I've had psychologists and GPs that I know, like one GP comes to mind that did the training, and I know she doesn't necessarily teach meditation to her clients that come in, but she brings the nature of what she's learned into every conversation she has. And because of what she's now aware of, the way she refers her patients is completely different. What she knows that they can get help from without necessarily having to fill out a script.
I have to say, my uncle is into meditation as well. He's one of the TM teachers, and he's also a GP.
Yeah, wow, cool.
Yeah, it was very powerful going through the process of healing from chronic fatigue with having his support for that exact reason right here. I wish every single person in a profession would learn meditation to be able to speak with that level of clarity, empathy, understanding, purpose, and a level of why in what they're saying, as well as that ability to connect, just like you said, not only as a result of feeling good and wanting to help other people, but like that ability to connect and empathize because, your stuff isn't kind of in the way. Like what you that in and of itself is world changing.
One of the things I think is sorry to cut you off, I just got really excited. One of the things we like really hone in on is this idea one of the baseline principles is it's a really simple thing. We just call it basic goodness. And the word goodness in this context refers to what we believe is stored at the base level human aspect of every single one of us. Mm. And we all have a multitude of past experience and programs that sometimes cloud that goodness. And you would see this being a coach too, but everyone I've ever worked with in a one-on-one capacity, when we kind of pull apart the shit and get down to the nuts and bolts of things, it's like there's beauty and sensitivity and grace and goodness within the heart of everyone. And the basic, because it's a no frills goodness, it's not a goodness you earn through achievement, or it's like that you have to prove your worth for. It's like, here's your goodness if you climb up this mountain, or if you earn this much dollar, have this many clients, then I'll call you good. It's just basic, boring, fundamental, beautiful goodness within everyone. And we drill it home, not as a concept, but for people to find it in themselves and go, I am fundamentally, no frills attached, deeply worthy and good enough. And there is radiant beauty in my heart without having to do anything to earn it. It's right here, right now, at the basis of who and what I actually am. There's benevolence, joy, love, right fucking here, right now. And then if you dip into that pool, it starts to permeate and soak from the inside out through your cells and your behavior and your mannerisms and your eyes and your language. And so no matter what you do, when you get in front of another person, you can't help but see through whatever they're presenting into the basic goodness that you know is there, because you see it. Even if they're trying to convince you that it's not there, you can just smile and inwardly know that, okay, this is through the spotlight of my awareness, I'm going to guide your attention back to who and what I know you am. No, you are. So it helps no matter what profession you're in. If you're into humans and some kind of hanging out with humans and being supportive, then it's going to be beneficial.
Did you hear that, everyone? You're into humans.
So, I prefer aliens and dogs.
This is amazing. Okay, so where can people find you? And I'll put links wherever I share this, obviously, but for those who are just listening, where is your website? How does it work to come and join you for this year's?
Yeah, cool. Thank you. The place where the most active is the old Grammy. So it's just King's Meditation and Mentoring is our Insta account. And through the link in our bio, there's all the different things that we do and offer. But then also the website is just kingsmeditationandmentoring.com, and you can navigate through that to the meditation teacher training page. And yeah, it's not the kind of thing where you just kind of hit a button and choose to sign up. You'll hit a button and then I'll get notified, and then people get more information. And then we start a conversation to see if it's right and kind of go through an application process. And because it's an 11-month journey, because it's very progressive, it's very gentle and incremental. But the purpose of that is that everything that we learn sinks in, so that the change is real and sustainable. So it's a long journey. And I'm like, if I want to hang out with someone for 11 months and if they want to hang out with me, we've got to make sure there's kind of a bit of rapport there and we're going to get along, because otherwise it's going to be a really long time. So yeah, we chat and get to know each other a little bit first, then kind of take the steps forward from there.
Amazing. Well, yeah. I couldn't recommend you and Hannah highly enough, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, as friends, as colleagues. I don't know what else there is, like soulmate buddies.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the chat today.
Oh, good chat all day.
Yeah, truly. And friends, if you want to know more, I'll share all of the links and everything, and just go and check them out and follow along and follow the little beating of your heart wherever it takes you, if your curiosity is lit up.
Yes.
Right. Thanks
for chat. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening.
All right. Ciao.
Woo.